My name is Cathy Cress, and I am here with our latest webinar, Why Merge Home Care and Care Management. It's the first time I've done this webinar. It's going to be exciting for me. And there's number one reason, and that's money. Care managers make 4 times the amount of money if they combine with a home care agency. And home care agencies get to bill for all the things they do for free. Their professional staff, like the RNs, the social workers, or just the people that run it, take people to the doctors, go to the hospital, call the doctor, call all the care providers needed. They can't bill for it. You can only bill for caregivers. So it's a wonderful match if you can do it. And I'm going to talk about how you do it and whether you want to do it. So we will move to the next slide. Okay. So I always sort of start with an example. It's always a fake person, but I make it up out of a lot of people that I've worked with over the 15 years of doing this. And let's call her Bridget Hand. It's actually my great-grandmother's name, from Mayo County in Ireland. And she owned her own company. It was a small home care company, and it was called All Hands on Deck for Elders, which I thought was a great name. And she had been in business about 5 years, and she wanted to increase her revenue because she had 2 children going into college. Now, we all know that's can make you bankrupt at this time in your life. And so I offered, basically many services to her through home care that she couldn't bill for, because all she could bill for was her care management or caregivers in the field. So attending doctor's appointments, calling the relatives, calling the doctor, calling the adult care daycare center, all the exigencies, the care that you arrange to create a care plan, she could bill for now. And so the other thing I did was point out the benchmark survey. And so anybody that is in ALCA now, ALCA used to be called NAPGCM, which was geriatric care managers, which is what we are. And in 2014, they contracted with Home Care Pulse, which is a great big organization that does studies. And because I wrote most of the book in the field, I never had statistics at that point. So it was like I was really excited. And they did many, many, specific studies on care management. And one of them was income. And when they did it, they surveyed every care manager in the country and found out, what combination of care management or solo care management made the most money. And that's where I get my statistic. 4 times the amount. In fact, it was like $7 million or around that, about 20 people, about 20% of care managers at that point were doing it. You can imagine how that's accelerated. So I am citing the benchmark study from GCM. ALCA's never done that since then, but I pointed out to her that by doing this, she could make 4 times the amount of money that she made as just being a home care agency. So we'll move to the next slide. So what did I do? I taught her how to do a competition survey. I taught her how to co-brand the merged agency, because you need a new version of your brand, how to purchase technology for both, which is like the great conundrum of most care managers. How do you co-locate the staff, both staffs? How do you get them co-located? How to market, which is essentially how to sell benefits, not features, and how to sell GCM products, not GCM by itself in the new merger. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. So we'll move on. And I always use this. I'm going through it fast. Why can I do this? I'm an author. I wrote most of the books, I think all the books in geriatric care management. I'm a teacher. I've taught at Berkeley, San Francisco State, and University of Florida. And I'm an expert in 3 areas. One is geriatric care management. I wrote the only operations manual in the field. The Aging Family, I co-wrote with many of my wonderful colleagues, care managers working with the Aging Family, which is the clinical book. And it's, you know, a wonderful book to have. And you've got to work with the whole family. I'm going to talk about that. And I wrote a book about midlife siblings, the bane of every care manager, because if they didn't get enough love, they're going to get even and drive you crazy. And then GCM Business, which was the manual. So that's why I can do it. And let's move on. Okay. I couldn't do it without this person. This is Keith Manensky. Keith and I have been working together originally through the University of Florida in their care management master's program and their certificate program. And Keith was the graduate level instructor in that program, and we worked together, and he's an active member of the Florida Aging Life Care Association, which God help them have to deal with Ron DeSantis, who he's in a war with Disney, and Disney just took a great crack at him today. Look in the paper. And he's part of the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners and the National Academy of Certified Care Managers. And he is my great, co-host, and he will be doing the polls, and we'll both do the questions together because Keith is as skilled as I am. And we'll move to the next one. Okay, this is our agenda. How this merge creates profit. And I've really just gone over that. The advantage of the merger besides money. How to do a competition survey, because you've got to start there. You've got to find how to position yourself so the clients are going to choose you, not your competition. Co-branding, I talked about that. How do you co-brand 2 disparate groups? Technology, which is the great conundrum, and I think I have a really new and innovative that I didn't think up way that you can bill both ways, care management and home care. Co-locating the staff, merging the markets, so marketing for both, and how you do that. Critical success factors, there's a number of them, and selling the major, again, through benefits, what's in it for them, not features. And we'll move on. Okay, I just said this, but I want to emphasize it, that home care is only able to, billable hours only come from caregivers. And so they are just giving money away like crazy. And I've worked with big companies like Unlock in San Francisco, a very large company. I did their putting home care and care management together, and then self-help, which is the Holocaust, big Holocaust survivor program in New York. And that was their problem too, being able to give both services away. And with care management, the basis is that just what I said with the benchmark study, and ask ALC about it, I'm sure they might tell you, 4 times the amount of money that you're going to make. So let's move on. But there are more advantages. And James, can you move my little picture over on the bottom, because now I can't see the slide. Okay, well, I think I can think through it. So geriatric care managers, this is a real advantage. Geriatric care managers monitor on a very frequent basis. In other words, they go to the home. Most home care companies, they do what the state tells them to do, which is probably go out every 6 or 8 weeks. And in Arkansas, it could be never. I don't know. Florida, probably not so great either. And the client could be dead by then. If you are going frequently to the home, you can, as a care manager, essentially do preventative care management and manage, especially, which is in your interest, manage people, clients with complex care needs. And I'm going to talk about that a lot, but that's, a client that has a lot of problems. And so that's one advantage. The other advantage is your care providers as a home care company. You can support, educate, and bring quality control to your caregivers, because the care manager is going to be able to, let's take a ship. You need a captain, you need the crew. If you take the captain away, you have pirates. They can, there's no boundaries. So they, take over the ship, do whatever they want. And the care manager is essentially the captain. And what the captain can do is not walk the plank, but essentially give the caregivers one-to-one professional problem solving. They're out there to really help the caregiver and train them in skills. So they're trainers as well. And, they're not, I worked with a company a while ago where the home care company, because they by state didn't have to go that frequently, somebody was giving needles to a client. That had to be remedied. They're pirates. So, it's a wonderful way to, essentially have really safe caregivers in the field. And we'll move on. Okay. You have to figure out next, what is your ideal client? Because that's who you market to. And the ideal client, as you well know, and money's everything here, who can afford to pay you? Because we all know Medicare doesn't cover this. And so essentially, you can only really market to the top 10%. The lower top percent are doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, all the people that run our communities, the very important people in the community. They have enough. But there are this other surprising group, and the New York Times did a great article about this. There are people with defined pensions. They're truck drivers. They're subway drivers. They're teachers. Who are they? They're people in unions, and they didn't get very much when they were, working, but they get a defined pension. And if you wonder about defined pensions, just think about your 401k right now. I mean, did you look about it going down? If the government crashes like in a week, it's really going to go down. So, these people with defined pensions, they get that amount of money every month, and it's enough to go down the Danube, and they're in the lower 5. The upper 5 and the 2% are, your Hillary Clinton's, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, and people you don't even know. They're in the upper 2%. And then, so they're the people who can afford you. But most of the people you won't know. So you have to be able to find these people. And they're adult children. Because the adult children are mostly the people that are going to call you. It's, older people don't want to be captured by you. Eventually they will plan ahead, but they're not now. So they'll buy geriatric care management services, the adult children, because they're in such pain, but they have to have this ideal parent. And you have to be able to ferret that out in your inquiry stage, which, to be able to figure that out. And we'll move to the next slide. Okay, again, with your ideal client, you have to figure out sort of what the income and assets are. And you really don't, ask about the money in your inquiry. You do ask about money, but you ask it, after I have a certain way of doing an inquiry, and you ask pain questions along with demographics. And then you get to the last question, and that's, essentially not a question. You're saying, and our fee is. And that qualifies, that's called qualification, because they will say, we're not ready to move forward. They really can't afford that, because home care is $4,000 to $6,000 a month. And care management is not that expensive, but over a long period of time, it is. And so that's qualification by anybody that's doing the sales. And that's how you start finding this ideal client. And the next part is essentially talking to the care manager. And, the majority of care management services are private pay because you can, no Medicare for all. Bernie brought it up again. I like Bernie. But most care management clients, the 90%, don't have the income to do this. So you have to find that person in the upper 10%. And another thing you're looking at is they're around 75, because that's the indicator when they become medically complex. That means that they have 3 ADLs that they can't do. ADLs are, you can't do them or you die. So that's like defecating, eating, and ambulating. You can still be alive when you ambulate, but you're near death. So, essentially, and there's several ADLs, but that's how you essentially look at your most ideal client. There's another ideal client that I did a whole webinar on, solo agers, last month, and you might want to look at that. I'm not going to really go into it, but it's young people who have already planned ahead, mostly women, career women. So you want to be able to qualify, and I'm talking about qualifying, meaning are they the ideal client? Internally and externally. Internally means that you then, start looking at your own caseload that you had before you merged, and you figure that out. What clients you could convert into home care, or what clients you could convert into care management. And then, the other part is really with new external clients, and we'll move on. Okay, a competition survey. This is something you need to do ahead of time. A competition survey is, a way for you to really make a good business decision whether this is something you really want to do. And you've got to find out how how you position yourself. And positioning yourself means that what you're going to do is, through this competition survey, find out what good things your your competition doesn't do. Like, can they write a written geriatric assessment? That's one of the hardest things you do as a care manager. Do they even answer the phone? That's, you'd be so surprised when you do it, how many people don't even pick up the phone. What do they background check their care providers? There's about 12 questions. And so you get someone called a secret shopper to do that. And a secret shopper is used by industries all over the country, because if they called, if you call yourself as the care manager or the home care agency, they're going to know who you are and they won't answer the questions. So you get someone called a secret shopper to do that. And so then, the whole scope and how much, the hourly, et cetera, of your competition, and figure out to position yourself, and you move forward. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay, you want to do this competition survey again before you start. And you're trying to also figure out, what I'm going to do this webinar on next time: features and benefits. Features are facts. So it's your price, it's the services you offer, and in a competition survey, you just look at their website and you find out a lot about that. Usually they don't even say their price because they're afraid to say it. I agree that I think you should in a qualifying situation. So features don't sell. They don't sell at all. What sells is benefits. And if you think about benefits, it's what's in it for me. So, the adult child you have to ask paying questions of this adult child when they call. And what's in it for them is their mother wouldn't call them over and over and over it again at night. That, they live long distance and they wouldn't have to spend all this. Their long distance care providers spend the most of any care provider because they have to travel. It's very expensive. So they wouldn't have to do that. That's a benefit. That's what you talk about, benefits. And the benefits you then explain in terms of feature. You're on call 24 hours a day. You don't say 24, you'll say we'll be there forever for you. Don't get up. Update the family. Communication is one of the most important things in sales. of care management. And the Florida Aging Life Association did a whole poll and figured that out. That you employ the caregivers, that you deal with medically complex features, but you say that in terms of benefits. What's going to make the family caregiver's life easier, who's ever calling you. And then, you can look also in a meta level as to whether that county, now many care managers or home care agencies cover 1 or 2 counties. So which county is more profitable? If you have a zillion elder care lawyers in there and a zillion assisted living, it may be too dense for you to go in. You might want to go into the next county. So it's a really important thing to do. And we'll move on to the next slide. So a market survey is about third parties, but it's also about adult children. So it helps you describe your target customer. It helps you present the market size. How big is the market? And your target customers are third-party referrals in a market study. So you want to know how many elder law attorneys are in there. Usually there's an Alzheimer's association, but sometimes they cover 3 or 4 counties. But you want to know that they're there. They'll refer to you. The attorneys will refer to you. Third-party referrals like upscale assisted living. How many of them are they? And you're going to collect all this data. How many wealth managers are there? And wealth managers are just old trust department people in banks. And we're going to talk about that. And if there's a fair amount of them in there, it's a really good place to go. And if it's over, a zillion that you're competing with, maybe you should reconsider that. And what this does, a market survey, is it describes your competitive advantage. And that's something you should really do before you go into this. We'll move to the next slide. Your ideal client, we already went over this, that, the income that you really should look for. And in older people, it's not really income, it's investments. So at least 500K is an inability to be able to pay you. And what you're looking for is long-term, not just today, because you want to keep a long-term client and not replacing clients. And what you're going to do is do something called hot mapping. And I have a contact that will do hot mapping for relatively little money. And what is hot mapping? If you had young children, and you were moving, you would move to the zip code that had the best schools. And that would be in zip codes. You'd move to the highest zip codes because schools are funded that way. Well, it's the same thing with elder care. And so hot mapping is a great way to really do this market survey. And I can give you, the information about a company that you can hire to do that. And then you want to look for the number of residents over 75 and medically complex, as I talked about, with unable to do ADLs. And so we'll move on. Okay, and the market survey also tells you about referrals. So it identifies, you want to identify the existing elder care mom. And I just said this, we can move on to this. These are all the people, and you will have that in the slide. These are all the referral bases that you want to look for. And actually, I'm telling you here how to find them. Alzheimer's Association, just Google the National Alzheimer's Association. Elder law attorneys, the way you find this out is go to the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys. They do it the same way that ALCA does, by zip code. And so you just put in your zip code of your county or wherever you are, and it will send you immediately, just like it does on the ALCA sheet, all the elder law attorneys in your area. Trust officers and wealth, they're harder to find, but I do have a way to do it. I can't write this whole thing out, but if you want to email me, I can tell you. There's a way to find the trust officers, who are really now called wealth managers. And you want them because they have the upper 2% or the upper 5%. And as Keith is just pointing out to you, you're going to get a copy of this tomorrow. So don't take notes. I should have told you that in the beginning. You will get a whole, not a copy, you're going to get a recording with, the whole seeing it and hearing it. Home health agencies, just Google that. You can find that really everywhere. Assisted living, same way, just Google it. And then you want to create a summary of those findings. And I can also send you a copy of one that has been done that's really done well. And we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so next you have to co-brand the two agencies, and you want to create a new brand, but not altogether a new brand. They have to be analogous. And at the very end, I am giving you a link to Nina Herndon's Sage Elder Care's website, because they do a fabulous job at, and I want you to look at that, and consider what I've said. So you want to integrate your your original trusted brand, and you can look at Sage's. It's an illustration of a sage plant. It's beautiful, with your newer brand, and the newer brand is this merged entity. And your new brand needs to be distinct from the old brand. So the way Nina has done it is, you open her website and you see, Sage Elder Care and, a lot of data about them, pictures, et cetera, et cetera. And then it goes to the newer brand, which she, Home Care, that's the next one that, she didn't really start that way, but then she ended up with that, and that's a sub brand that you need to put in. And so it's still got the pretty sage on the side, but it has different information about home care. She has another edition called Care Management, so it's just like I'm teaching you. The old Sage, beautiful brand, and Nina's a wonderful care manager, so you get the best from her. She was my TA when I first taught at San Francisco State. I was teaching at Berkeley, and she came over and took the class just to get me to teach in San Francisco, and we've been friends forever. So then so you're having the old brand there, the trusted brand Sage, but then you have, Care Management. But she has this fabulous third service that's called the Hummingbird service, and it's quality of life. And Nina really invented it. And it's this wonderful program that she's extended pretty much all up the West Coast, and it's all over the country, really. And so, quality of life is down there too. So if you look at what Nina's done, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, co-branding, seeing is better believing. And that, this is like, you should know this, and you put all that on your website, your business cards, your letterhead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and go to Nina's website and you'll see what I mean. And moving on to the next slide. Okay, co-branding for existing clients. And this is what I was talking about. There's two sets of clients that you have to, both qualify and co-brand. And one is your existing clients, because you'll get, either if you're a care management agency, you'll get home care out of that, and vice versa. So you must treat your existing clients with an image of the new company. And, just the way we started, I mean, essentially you can say to your existing home care clients, we now have this whole new service that will manage, have the great skills in a co-care manager to manage, clients that have, many, many problems or few problems, but they are there to manage these problems and manage, the care providers. So it's a whole distinct new service that, they're already signed up that they're going to get. Hippie. Yeah, I mean, they love that part. And so you're going to deliver an extensive array of products to keep these elders in place and help families you already have in need. And that's the way, in whatever way you want to say that, you need to market to your existing clients to transfer them, to be able to get them to agree to transfer to the new service, unless you just want to blanket do it. And, you got to think about that. Move on to the next slide. And then co-branding with referral parties. These are the elder law attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. And again, you're focusing on high-end clients. So what you're saying to them, if you're a home care agency, is you're delivering concierge customer care services now that entitled client, entitled clients demand. And when you're working with wealth managers, you're talking about entitled clients. You're talking about the Trumps, the Hillary Clintons, the Bill Gates. Some of these people are very nice, and who have they have very, very special demands and need, and care management, concierge care management can answer that. And so you're telling, your existing clients, you solve problems for third parties through your new care management system because they can deal with sibling rivalry. Elder law attorneys and wealth managers hate siblings fighting. They don't have the skills to deal with that, and they don't like them. So essentially, the elder law attorney is going to be told, now you have a geriatric care manager who is skilled, highly skilled in dealing with dysfunctional families and dealing with those siblings that just drive you crazy. And that's a benefit that you're going to sell. If you have assisted living, what do they hate? Move outs. They don't want people moving away. Well, a care manager can do this thing called move management. And essentially, when the person gets into the assisted living, they're on Mars, they're living in a motel, they used to live in a house, they don't even have the furniture they used to have, and they don't have friends. Care managers do post-move to make sure that that person really gets engaged in the community, in the residents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's called selling by benefits. And care managers can do home from the hospital. So one of the things that Medicare hates is if clients come back to the hospital within 90 days, and they find hospitals for that. And so what you can say is, and they found out when Medicare started doing this, that what saved people from doing it, from coming back to the hospital, were care managers. Because you get into the first doctor's appointment always, and you get meds set up and they're not under the dog food as a care manager. And what this does is, they're the 2 points statistically why people recycle. So, an end of life care management, the same thing, but you're selling by benefits to really say, this is a service I want to add. And it's co-branding and it's co-marketing. And we'll move on to the next slide. Technology for care management. So, care management has to have its own website. And I just talked about that and using Nina Herndon's Sage company as an example of how you can learn that. They have the same website, but multiple websites within it, which many people have. And what you can do is what Nina has done is add a menu of services, because she has a menu that includes quality of life, home care, and care management. And you can add, lots of other things like move management, which is a great service to add, and add that to your website. And I have an operations manual that has 15 of these products and step-by-step how to do them. So, you really need to add something like this and redesign the main website so it refers to these care management sites. And again, go back to Nina Herndon's Sage website, and we'll move on. Okay, co-locating both staffs. Care management needs its own office. It needs walls. I've worked with a lot of big companies. One of them, they will remain nameless, had the care management services in the hallway. Don't do that, please. They need their own office because they're a disparate part of the whole system. They need their own name. And as I just pointed out in Nina's, company, it's still Sage, but it's, the Hummingbird program under Sage. And you've got to name the care management program, or if you're the care manager, name the home care program. They need a direct line these people who are calling to get services do not want to be put on hold. You don't want to transfer them through, different, we all hate transferring, but these are very upset, desperate, adult children who don't want to wait, or they're very rich and they don't think they should wait. And so you want a direct line in the program to go to that office, again, their own. And their website, I told you about that. They need their own email and they need their own care managers. Don't take somebody from your agency and make them a care manager unless they're certified by ALCA as a real care manager. Care management is a very complicated profession. And so, and you especially, if you have certified care managers in ALCA, that makes you more up on their lists of people that they're going to refer to. So let's move on. Marketing care management and home care. So what you really need to use in marketing care manager is public relations, not paid advertising. Paid advertising really doesn't work as far as I'm concerned. And one form of paid of PR is a speakers bureau. And a speakers bureau is really the best way to find adult children because you can't Google adult children in your area and find anybody. They're really hard to find. When I work with Onlock, they hired some $1 million company to come in and try to do it, and they couldn't find them. So what you want to do is set up a speakers bureau. And the reason being that, as people get in that caregiving kind of mode between 40 and 60, when their parents are going south, they're also joining a lot of clubs, women's clubs, service clubs like the Rotaries all over the world, the Lions clubs. And you want to be able to, connect that way. And another great connection you want is an EAP. An EAP is an employee assistance program. And if you're located near a city where there are large corporations like Disney, sorry, I don't like Ron DeSantis, they're going to have an EAP because what corporations don't like is their, employees taking time off to take care of parents or to take care of young children. That's what an EAP is for. And so essentially, you can go and speak to the EAP. I have a whole speakers bureau that's available to you. It comes free with the classes. I give it to all my class members, but it'll be an offer at the end here, and it's pretty inexpensive, I must say, but a really good way to find, these new clients. And move on. Okay, Keith is going to do a poll now. I'm going to take a break.
All right, thank you, Cathy, for this interesting webinar that you're presenting here to this point. And let me see if I can go ahead and launch this poll here. Hopefully it should come up on your screen. And we are getting some responses here. So we'll just let this play out here. I should go ahead and read the questions in case it's because the type is very small. So we have let's see, what type of agency are you? Single choice. What type of agency are you? We have home care agency, care management agency, care management, home care agency, and interested in merging home care and care management. We are right now, and okay, there you go. You should be able to see those results up there.
Great.
40% care management agency. There you are.
Great. Thank you very much. And we'll move on. Thank you, Keith. Okay. Selling the new Major with benefits and features. And I've talked a lot about this, and I'm just going to do a little bit more. So a benefit is a competitive edge when it gets the attention of prospects, when it sells your product or services, when it gets customers coming back, and when it causes the prospects to talk about you. So if an elder law attorney is sold through benefits, like I will take care of those dysfunctional families. I know how to mediate, or I know how to facilitate a family meeting, I will get them to allow the care management to begin. That's a great way to do that. But, selling by benefits just buries the competition. And if you watch, I'll give you an example. I love it. So Verbo, I hope you all know about Verbo. Verbo has this fabulous new ad out, and Verbo's competition, of course, is Airbnb. So if you watch the Verbo ad now, it's a very little, beautiful little cabin-like house. It's very big and pretty. It's all lighted up inside. And this family comes up, it's multi-generational. The kids are very excited. They go in, they start running up the stairs and going downstairs. And what's the position line? You have your own house. You're not sharing with anybody else. And what does Airbnb do? It shares. So they are positioning themselves. And that's my greatest illustration of it, because I love this ad. Please watch it and you'll understand positioning. So we'll move to and this is another one. It's a great one. I can't quite see over it, but I'll guess. So I think this is it's not, I can't remember. This is an old, iTunes, used to be able to use, I think people still use it, listen to music. I never had one. So if you say storage for 100 G MP15s, that's a what? It's a feature. Who cares about that? Or I don't even understand what it means. If you say a way to get 1,000 songs, that's the benefit, and you've sold me. So we'll move on. Okay, selling a new merger with benefits, not features. So this is another really hardcore way to teach you about that. So a feature, like say you make doors, and you say as a feature, which is a fact, our doors have strong hinges. And then you sell by features and you say, our doors won't bend when you slam them 1,000 times. So like, what are you sold by? You're sold by the slamming. And a feature, let's use another one, a feature in aging. You are an expert in dysfunctional families. I've been talking about that forever. And what's the but that doesn't mean anything really. What you want to say to a conservator who you want to convert into a client, for conservators to get off the hot seat, that means not do good, good cop, bad cop. You work with a dysfunctional family, so you're the bad cop, and get them to do what you want, what the conservator wants to do. And then the conservator just because they have a legal right to do it. Conservators love that. That's a great way to sell to them. So we'll move on to the next slide. Selling with new majors with benefits, not features. So say your feature is home care. The benefit, just saying home care, that's not cutting it really, but that's a fact. But a benefit is our home care aides are personally screened and supervised by a trained one-to-one professional concierge care manager, giving assurance, this is the big time, that your loved one is getting the best care. That's a benefit. That's how you sell it. And a feature, another one is to an elder law attorney. Already told you what they hate. We are, and you're a home care company and you've now merged with care management. So you're saying we are an expert in sibling wars facilitation to help make decisions about parent care. That sells just on the top. Or another thing that is, really coming up with, older people who are now starting to pre-plan. And if you look at the solo ager webinar again, that's really talking about these people. We can advise on current and future cost of care. In other words, care managers can do that as well. That's a benefit. So you sell by benefits, and we'll move to the next slide. Okay, critical success factors. I'm going to go through this really fast, but I have put a whole webinar, a whole YouTube channel at the end that you're going to be able to watch that I did on this a long time ago. And, I had different hair. I looked different. You see me age, but it's a really good playlist in YouTube, and it'll explain all this in more detail. So you have to rewrite your mission, and you have to say in your mission, they will teach you this. It's Stanford's MBA program, or anybody's MBA programs. You have to say your mission, and the mission doesn't go to the public, but you have to make a mission among your staff that you're serving high-end clients in the market you serve, and then have these 2 factors that I put in before: 3 ADLs, 500 million K. And you have to change your value proposition, and this can go to the public, that you're serving long-term care clients, you're serving concierge clients, you're serving the whole aging family, because you have Bunny Dibness, who I love, an older care manager like me, really came up with this in a chapter that was in families working with aging life. And you serve the whole aging family. You don't really get them therapists, but you do really have to work with the family to get the care that you want and not sabotage it lately. So you serve the whole aging family, and the care manager will be the trusted leader, the captain, so no piracy occurs. And then you sell products, not services. And products and services for the upper 10%, especially that upper 5%, they are really understandable to them because they have so much money. They love to buy things. They're into products. Products reflect the greatness of them, the beautiful, couture dress that they can buy, that they can go to the Met Gala and come in costumes that cost $1 billion. So you want to sell in products, not services, but you also don't want to use abstract. And this drives me nuts. Do not use peace of mind. I do not like peace of mind. Peace of mind is too abstract to use. For elder law attorneys and wealth managers, they're not going to buy that anyway. You want to say that you're able to sell, as you offer their clients calmness, offer them security, that they won't have to get up in the middle of the night by calls, et cetera, not peace of mind. And we'll move on to the next slide. And critical success, to technology efficient. You want to have technology that captures the operations, the billing, does easy invoicing, documentation. I used to have an elder law attorney come in and teach documentation in all my advanced college classes, because once you have something like undue influence, they need your documentation to prove the case, and they teach it really, really well. So you want good documentation and user-friendly, easy way to capture data. And this has to do with platforms, technological platforms you're going to use. Training your care manager. You want to, and this is a link in blue. So you want to teach your care managers the customer engagement model. It's a really good model to work with, because it teaches you, how, it's about marketing, but marketing that you will understand as a social worker or a nurse. How do you engage this person so that they really want to work with you? When they want to work with you long term, they want to, they believe you'll satisfy their needs. And it's how to retain a customer. And that's the one thing you absolutely want to do, because if you can keep a customer over long term, like 10 years, 8 years, something like that, and you can, you make $600,000 more than you do by just having them on a short term. And then billing is really, really important. You want to have appropriate caseloads, really heavy cases that, that are very, very complicated. Really, they need one care manager that handles that caseload, because it takes someone that really has experience, somebody usually with APS, because not everybody who works for you is going to be able to deal with these very difficult cases that involve undue influence, that involve sweetheart scams, all the crazy things that these entitled families do. And then billing, as I, was talking about, you want to bill 85%. And, put that down. What are the 85% things you're going to bill for? What are the 15 things? And then this is my new discovery. How do you get clear care that that bills for home care, for the aides, and also bill for care management? It hasn't been unearthed how to do it. Care managers have been trying to figure this out for a long time. Try Salesforce. I just discovered this. And I'm not a tech person, but with Salesforce, you can bill for both. So call Salesforce. I think under this outline, I might be up a little bit. I put the link to Salesforce. Give them a call because you can really bill for both that way. It's my new little tip. And we'll move to the next slide. And offer clinical supervision. And who gives that? Care managers with home care. Astute financial management, we just talked about that, but you always get a signed contract. You always get a deposit, and I try to get it over the phone. Don't go out there, spend 3 hours and have them say they're not ready to move on. Don't do that. It's a waste of money. Ask it over the phone in the inquiry. And prompt invoicing. You should be sending out your bills every 2 weeks. And then, this is organizational design. You want to create roles and responsibilities, which means before you're even starting, have a job description for you, the director, so you can start delegating eventually. Jobs descriptions for the care managers, an organizational chart, which, is essentially up and down. But you also want to have a flow chart on something I'm really just learning. A flow chart is horizontal and, just goes from this job to that job. Learn or find somebody that knows how to do flow charts and figure out step by step what the care manager does. And job descriptions for every single person before you even get started. Don't wait till the last minute and have to throw that together. And then you want to create an operations manual. So this is not all in your heads. It has to be written down because it becomes a training manual. And we'll move to the next slide. Okay, now we are almost to the end where you can watch the video. And these are offers that I always make at the end. And the first one is a competition survey that I talked about, and it will have all the parts that I just talked about, the market size. We will do hot mapping for you, identify the third-party referral choices, identify your competitors, describe your competitive advantage, your ideal customer, and use secret shopper and hot mapping to do that. And you can use this new way to pay for it that Tasha Bouchamp has been doing and told me about. It's called PayPal Credit. PayPal Credit, they don't have any way to add, extra interest. They just will lend you the money, and if you pay it off by 6 months, there's no interest at all. It's a really good deal. And the price isn't $3.99, so it wouldn't be very much. All these offers are only available from May 18th to May 30th. And if you want to just find out the information from me, just email me at cathycress.com, and don't purchase it on the regular email, on the regular website. Just go to cathycress.com. And if you want to purchase or ask for a sample, I can send you a sample at that. And we'll move on to the next slide. Speakers Bureau, which I talked about that. I've had that available for about 6 months now, and I, have a lot of interest in it. It's a Speakers Bureau package. And it's marketing to family caregivers. And I just explained what it's all about. It's made 20-minute presentations. You don't have to think about it. I've already done it for you. I've done the handouts for you, which is a sell sheet so that you have your name and how your contact information. By the end of it, when they need you, they get to call you and they have the information. It presents and covers all the pain points and all the pain relief for the adult children and how to engage them in a sell sheet, and then complete pre and post directions, because there's many things you need to do before you do the speech and many things you have to do after the speech, like get all their emails, the main thrust, and a 30-minute consultation with me, how to set it up. So that you can use it very easily. And it's $199 as an offer right now. It costs $225 right now, and it's free if you take one of the business and Opman courses. You just get it for free, and we'll move to the next one. Only 2 more things to cover. And the second thing is I now offer, and I did this before, but I'm offering it again. I can consult like I did with Unlock, or self-help, to set this all up for you with these staff that I now have. So I can do a competition survey for you, co-branding, technology for the merger, co-locating both staffs with walls. I'll design a marketing plan, sales plan, marketing to the new and existing clients. And it's $150 an hour and a minimum of 10 hours. And we'll move on to the next slide. And if you want to get you can get PayPal credit for that. And just email me. Don't go through the right chat on my email on my website. And the last is the online class. And that's a self-paced class, takes you a year to get through it. You get both geriatric care and management manuals, which are the most important things that you're really going to get out of me. Because when you go to sell this business, you can sell it for double the price if it's not in your head and in the manual. There's a form and a operations manual. And then ALCA offers 57 CEUs. They've been awarded to us for 3 for each class. So you can get the CEUs for free out of this. There's 22 modules, 20 hours of free consultation with me, and that goes along with the other class as well. And marketing for each product, free tech support. And this is wrong. It's old. I'm really sorry. It's only available from today till the 30th of July. And the class was $950, but it's offered now for $850. And if you belong to ALCA, it's $750. And same for the other class. It's if you belong to ALCA, you get another $100 discount. And you can also get it through a subscription manual, that module that I have that has some interest involved, not much, but you can also just use PayPal credit, which, I've been convinced by Tasha is a really good deal. And we'll move to the next slide. And this is the operations manual class, and same thing, self-paced class, 1 year, 2 operations manuals for free, 57 CEUs, 20 hours of free consultation, marketing for each product, free tech support, only available till May 30th from today. Was $950. The offer is $850 from this class. And if you belong to ALCA, it's $750. And we have a subscription that you can use, or you can use PayPal credit. And that's it. So we will go on to, we're at the right time. We have about 15 minutes later. This is the next webinar I'm going to do. That's for free. I always do them for free. It will be on July 20th, and it's a much more in-depth webinar about selling and benefits, because I find with my students, it's hard for them to get it. But if you really want to sell, which nobody taught you in nursing school, nobody taught me in social work school, and we all don't like sales. We hate them. But I have to tell you how to sell, and I can teach you how to sell, and it's not too different from social work either. You're really doing a needs assessment. So join me for then, and the yellow is the sign up, and now we will take questions.
All right, thank you, Kathy, for very interesting, yet another one. That's another new one. I have not heard that one before, right? There may have been elements from you brought in from other ones, but I think essentially that was
Mhm.
a new slant or a look at how you can be more profitable by merging or starting, right? Another branch or agency, branch agents, I don't know, what you would call them, arm, I don't know what you would call the other.
Merger.
uh, you can do instead of in the past, I've always had to because I've not done that is to and I'm waiting for some questions here. We have one, but so that's why I'm rambling on here. Nobody really cares, but you always have to refer out to caregivers and those types of services that you needed for. I couldn't do it. I had to run the business. I couldn't be there cooking breakfast for them, although I did a number of times. So within this structure, then not only do you make profit, but you have much more control. And I think to me, that's the key. I know
Yeah,
profit,
that is
money
a
is important, but that
great.
control over what's going on, because I had no control. And I reported those caregivers a number of times to these agencies that I felt were dropping the ball with what we had
Exactly.
agreed upon. And so, and my hands were tied, go to a different agency. Okay. But then we start all over again, and it's disruptive. Okay, we have
Right.
another question.
You know,
Okay, folks, do you have any questions here?
yeah, I have, I have my own story when, this is in 83 or something like that. I had moved down to Pebble Beach, Monterey, and we did a lot of work with Wells Fargo Bank, and we didn't we didn't have home care, we just had care management. And Wells Fargo, which referred a lot of cases to us, came to us and said, we're not going to use you anymore. We don't want to be responsible for these care providers. We want you to. And we started hiring care providers. So,
Liability.
that's how we were forced into it, and really thank the Lord, because that is one of the most important parts is you just control them. You don't end up with like substandard
And I don't
people.
mean control in the sense of, that doesn't sound very care management like to control, say you're going to control, but you can better manage, and you have a better feel for the person. You're hiring them, right? You're interviewing them. Or somebody that is doing that for you, and so you trust their judgment. When you go to a care agency, you're getting whatever they happen to have that day, that afternoon. I've
Right.
had
And
people.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I had caregivers come in who weren't just talking about helping with food prep and, meals and things like that, maybe some light ADL care. And, and she would bring her sister over who got out of, I don't know what she was in, grade school or not grade school, but older than that, the junior high, or anyway, she was a young lady, and she slept on a couch while she was being the caregiver for the, I'm thinking, well, it's not a babysitting service. I understand you have personal, I understand what's going on, you want to take advantage of your time and everything, and it seemed like a safe place, and it was, but you know what I mean? Things like that just didn't seem
Right.
appropriate.
And control means that you have somebody that's going out that's really checking on that, like not
Right?
giving needles. I mean, that was like such a great teachable moment for me. The combination really does, be able to catch those problems. So, come on, every time we have to drag these questions out of you, there's
Oh
no,
no, I'm sorry, Kathy. We got some now. I was just, I'm
okay.
reading them. We got a few. So let me go ahead and start then. And thank you everybody for not only for attending, but for having these questions here. Well, this is a question or just a statement. Maybe please provide the hot mapping process contact, as well as how to find wealth managers in the info that will be sent out tomorrow. So I guess an attachment somehow or
Okay, well, when you email me, you have to tell me that. I'm actually going to send it to everybody. But, if I haven't sent you what you want, I'll send it to you.
to get in touch with Kathy and email her, and she'll certainly provide you with
Yeah.
more detailed to your question. What's the difference between what is the difference in offer 4 and offer 5
Um,
in your, I guess, in this
Offer
last?
4 is the business class, and that's really for people who are starting geriatric care management. It's how to start a business. It goes from the very beginning about, which is also the beginning here of doing a competition survey, but it goes in, how do you do organizational design? I just discussed this. You have to have, essentially all the job descriptions ready ahead of time. You need to have a flow chart to show, step by step, what your employees do. You have to have a lot of things in organizational design. And then one of them is a timeline. You need a timeline when you're going to open your business, and then all the points of the timeline that you're going to be able to do. When do you get, for instance, the software and the hardware? You have to have the money to get it. So you have to, figure out on the scale of when you're going to buy it. When are you going to do that? And then I have you create 2 timelines. One is a fast timeline, one's a slow timeline. And you don't want to just beat yourself up because you didn't get, to the point of what you wanted to at a certain time. Go back to the slow timeline, but that's organizational design. If you go on my website, you can see all of the steps in that class. For that, starting a business. The Opman class, which is the second one, is for someone who's really starting it and wants to pre-populate it with what you need to sell and products. So that's the difference between the 2 of them.
Okay, all right,
A lot of people take both.
okay. There's a question here from Nicole. Would it be easier or better, better, to start a smaller HHC, home health company? I'm assuming that's what that stands for, component to your care management company, as opposed to merging?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you watch the video, you'll see that. I think that, you really have to have a well-established home care company that's ready to add, geriatric care management. I mean, to tell you the truth, when I started 40 years ago, I started with 3 other women. We didn't know anything. I mean, we knew we wanted to do it. And so we just mushed them together in the beginning. No rhyme, no reason. It worked out because we were able to do that. But, that's kind of a fluke. For now, I would say have a really strong home care company and have a strong care management company. But, when I showed you my great grandmother, Bridget, AKA somebody else, a small home care company is fine as long as you have it down. Because adding home care can, having care managers, it's just going to bring in a lot more money.
Yeah.
So if
So
you need more money, bring in the home care company, and I can help you manage.
as opposed to starting your own small scale company, I would,
Yeah,
there's,
first you
I
gotta
guess there's,
start any company and don't merge. Don't
there you
do what
go.
we did. We didn't really have problems, but that was 1980. Money was a lot easier to get, yada, yada, yada. And we were very young and daredevil-y. So, it worked. But I would say start a home care company, start a care management company, get those going fairly well, and then start to merge them.
So again, I don't mean to keep going. So you start both companies as opposed to starting a care. For example, my care management company I've been running for 10 years now. Should I merge that with an existing home care company that's already been, say, 10 years in the community as well? They trust them. I've been working with them. We're good. Hey, we get along. Would that's
Right.
a possibility, right? If it's a good
Great
fit.
possibility. It's a great possibility.
Okay.
I also
Okay.
have a partnership test, and I can
Okay.
give that to you because partnering takes a lot more. And one of the first things people said to me like 20,000 years ago, go on a vacation together. I loved it, but it's
Oh, yeah,
true.
there you go, yeah.
Because,
Ooh.
when you put any new thing together, you start things, you're going to have bumps. Sometimes it's really painful bumps, but that's the way. It's a Silicon Valley idea. And I live in Silicon Valley, even though I don't have Facebook. Thank the Lord, I hate it. So, you never look at a failure as a failure. You look at a failure as some way to learn. And in merging, what you want to do is don't look at your partner as the failure. Don't start blaming. And that's what really happens. And that's why people, partnerships blow up. When they blow up, they are so powerful, especially for women. Women really take, because the business is their baby. So you really
Okay.
want somebody where you have, you have chemistry with them. And I guess vacations help. But if you want the partnership quiz, I'll send it.
And this is from pardon my, is it, I don't know if I'm saying it right. And Nicole, I hope that answers your question. Kaysen, I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is from Kaysen. And this is going to be this is hard. What is the average rate for care management? You can go anywhere from $50 an hour to,
It's easy it's actually easy for me to say because I've had to look at so many stats. And if you look at the, home care pulse, so you can still get a hold of it. And it's probably still true. It's always called what the traffic will bear, which is an old railroad term in terms of railroad barons. But on either coast, and this makes common sense to everybody, the fees are higher, usually about 160 an hour. If you're in New York, it's about 200. If you're in Washington, D.C., it's about 200. If you get in the Middle West, it's lower because the income is lower. That's what traffic will bear means. So since there hasn't been another home care pulse study, you can just take it from me that that's what it is. And the way that you find that out is to do a competition survey, because when you're, competing, when you're figuring out your competition in your area, you're going to be able to figure out what their rates, and you just make the rate sort of what that rate is. You start out with the average rate. Not too low, it's like the Three Bears, not too high. You want the mother's bed, and you can raise the rate from there. Answer?
can we put a dollar amount on what the average rate might be?
Well, no, just like I said, in the West Coast,
Yeah, yeah, you gave me examples, but what is the average rate then? Give me a dollar amount for the average rate that you think it
oh, if
might
you
be.
put it, I don't know, I'm not good at math.
All right, exactly, right, because
I'm
it's too
just
many variables
guessing.
and
I'm
yeah.
sorry if I ever misspell anything to you. It's because I have this problem. I couldn't read till I was in 5th grade, and now I speed read, but I still can't. I never could add anything. So I don't know. You take 160, 200, and then you take, and add them all together. I would say about 190, 180,
No kidding, really? Okay, really?
and it keeps
Pretty,
going up.
but
And
man, I really undervalued myself then. Wow.
You did. And,
Yeah,
it keeps going up. And the way it's going up is you have to pay caregivers fairly now. When I started, it wasn't that I thought that was unfair. This is in 1980. We paid them $7.50 an hour, and they had to have 3 jobs. I'm a businesswoman, but at the same time, I am compassionate, community organizer. So, you really, because of COVID, which is the main reason that, care provider rates have gone on, because so many home care aides have left and gone to higher, like McDonald's is, taken a lot of care providers. You have, now actually paying care providers, I will say in Santa Cruz, where I live, is about $40 an hour.
Mm,
And sometimes with bonus
wow.
fees.
Kidding.
Mhm. And I would say in all big cities that may be true. I mean, different than Santa Cruz and how much you pay them and the bonuses are. But
The
it's hard,
large rate is supply and demand. Do
right?
you feel like there's a
Yeah, and I will
because
throw
of
in a political, I'm sure you don't want all this, but a political move. If we left more immigrants into the country, that would change, because, most of the time in the 40 years I did this, recent illegal immigrants were the people that were the care providers, and they were the best care providers because they come from cultures who really value older people. They, it's not just a job, it's a calling. So,
It's a way of life for them. They've grown up with it. I mean, throughout the whatever, depending on what culture you're talking about. But yeah, definitely. I mean,
right.
anyway,
So,
we need to
yeah,
move on. We got some more
that's
questions popping up here. I want to make sure we get them in here. Last time, I think we ran out of time. We actually had to leave some questions unanswered. That's
you're
not
the
like you.
greatest, this audience. I love it. Go, keep on asking.
So, okay, Nicole just says she reiterates what I said about, being unsure about who you hire in terms of like a private duty or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Move on to the next one. Okay, so this one's kind of long, so let me go ahead. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. I'll slow down a little bit. So, went to a professional guardians meeting, and it seems that professional guardians also do care management and also work alongside elder law attorneys.
Mhm.
Would not elder law attorneys refer out to guardians versus geriatric care managers since they are used to working with them so closely? I am a home health agency and interested in bringing on care management. Can you elaborate on the difference between guardianship and the care management they do and care managers? From Marissa?
Well, Marissa, I would say that guardians, usually they will do everything I mean, I would say the largest group do everything they want. They need to do themselves, but they don't do home health. They will partner with a home care agency. It's very, it's more common to have a home care agency, or specifically very much more common to have a care manager work with a elder law attorney. There's not, when I say common, they do, but there's not a lot of that, where a care manager is, hired to be part of the team. Guardians they don't become part of an elder law team. A guardian is a very specific legal situation. Think Britney Spears here. And not that all guardians are bad. That was a very bad guardianship. But guardians, tend to work with care managers. I really, in my experience nationally, because I work with people all over the country, I don't see guardians working with conservators. I mean, I don't see guardians working with elder law attorneys. I think that's not very frequent. They're very
Well, there's a
disparate.
relationship between them, but it's a legal relationship, and one being the guardian, and the other one maybe, so there could be a possible conflict there too. So you don't really
Right.
want to get too close to the guardians that might be representing a client or your ward or whatever they're called nowadays. The person, let's call them
Yeah,
what they are, the person. That's not give them a
right.
name, Joe
And
or
I'll give
John
you
or.
an example of how they do work together. And in the West, I don't know about the East, but they have these things called fast teams. And fast teams, they were the people that I used to bring in to teach, how to do notes. So essentially, in very difficult cases in Santa Clara County, because Silicon Valley is so rich and so crazy, they used to have a lot of undue influence. And what would happen was that the APS, the guardianship in California, every county has a guardianship office. Then the FAST team, which were all elder law attorneys, they work for the county, all work together so that they get these really messy, awful cases. People poisoning. I mean, I can't tell you what these people did. It was crazy. Took them up to Reno to marry them in wheelchairs. It's just like nuts. The FAST team could get to these people right away and get them under control legally. And the control would be under the conservatorship office. The attorney would be from the FAST team employed by the county, but they would do all the mechanisms to get them conserved. And then
Like a rapid response or a
rapid
crisis intervention.
response team, and a great opportunity for you. And this, I had this happen to me, is that the conservator's office and it's fiduciary in the East Coast. They actually, they didn't formally hire me, but they referred all their cases to me because we could do a really job on horrible, messy cases. And so we took on those. I mean, it was, cases that you say, you think you've seen it all, you've never seen it all.
And then you got a case, and you got.
Yeah, and you make a lot of money that way. And that's the only way I've seen them work together, but that was within the auspices of a county. And there's
Just let
only
me, no, I'm
really
sorry,
big
Kathy.
important counties. Like
Yeah, let me just,
yeah, go ahead.
well, I just wanted to move on to, we have more questions here
Yeah.
And to put a button on that too as well. I think Marissa, you might have a leg up actually on, really guardians because being home health, I mean, that's a unique niche right there. So I think you're going to give them a run for their money. I wouldn't be too worried about the guardians. They're going to come to you, I think, in my
Yeah.
opinion, in
Right.
some
And
cases.
go to the guardianship office. Really, honestly, they will work with
Yeah.
you if you know you are the best. You can handle these insane cases, because they are literally insane. And be dispassionate about it. It's really what it takes.
All right. This is from Beth here, and it says, does the care manager schedule or use a scheduler that they work with?
Mhm.
I would say either one, right? Would you say you could either one
Yes,
that's employed by them or?
yes, the well, staffing coordinator,
Yeah, there you go.
scheduler, or staffing coordinator.
Thank
Think
you.
about it.
Oops. Yeah. Move on to the next one here. I have managed a home care company for 10 years. We are Elka members and looking to add care management to our product offering. Would you like to take I would like to take your course and get more of your existing collateral to streamline our solution. Which course should I take to get the best benefit first?
Well, you seem very sophisticated, so I'd say take the second class. And it's
Getting beyond the beginner
called the
stuff.
operations manual class. It's not the business class, it's the operations manual class.
Okay. I don't know who the sent this, so hopefully that answers your question there. And let's get on here to the next one here. I think we have two more, maybe three more. Two more. This is from Evelyn. I know you don't like packaged deals, but I still see them with, yes, I do too, with some care management companies. Why don't you like it? And what would, I guess, be a good rate if a care management chooses to run the business with a packaged care management plan? Hopefully I read
I
that.
know Evelyn, and I think what she's talking about is if you're talking about a package with a flat fee. You're right. I don't believe in flat fees because what I've been talking about with billing, you have to bill 85%. And if you want, all you have to do is email me. I will send you webinars where I've taught this in great detail about why it's called cash flow. That's why you need it. I won't go into this, but I don't believe in flat fees packages. Say you want to do, say somebody hires you to do a written geriatric assessment, and it's an elder law attorney who's going to hire you, and they win in court in California, their evidence. If you just say, okay, I'll do it for $500, do you know how long it takes to do this? Because you have to do the whole assessment, and then you have to write it up perfectly because it's going to court. That could be 15 hours and you're leaving all that money on the table. So personally, no, I don't believe in it.
It's funny. I had and that was our last question. I sort of did like a mixed bag. My initial evaluation, when I go in, sort of, do some, at least get an idea of what they were about and sort of formulate a care plan, formulate a report, things like that. I would do that for a flat fee. So that first initial contact assessment, until I gave them their first report, I call it a report. It had a care plan in it, but I didn't know them well enough to get too specific in my care plan. So I had to be very general. So in that case, until I got to know them a little bit better. But I would always attack the concerns that they brought up, or the things that I saw that were blatant that needed to be, you can't be sleeping in your car on the street, so we're gonna have to find a place for you to live. There's things like that. And then the more nuanced ones that are a little bit, things that like maybe refining an activity or used to do something, wants to do it again, that kind of stuff. So um you get to know your, so then after that I would go hourly. And that's exactly how I would once I got that initial, I said, here you go, here's your report. A lot of times people, and this is why I go back and forth, they would drop me after that initial report because they had what they wanted, they had what they needed, and their thing. So they still could drop you at any point or terminate you at any time anyway. But I felt like, a lot of times that might have been the case, that they were just looking for that initial report and moved on.
Right. What I would suggest is anybody that's really interested in the answer to that, email me and ask me to send you the webinar on billing. I've done it many times. I've done it at ALC conferences. I have a lot of recordings of it, and it's in much more detail, and it will show you actually fiscally why you shouldn't do it. And then you can compare it to, what you want to get out of it. I can't make you do anything, but I don't think you should do it.
Here you go. And that was our last question. Comment, question. Anybody else have anything before we sign off here for yet another wonderful webinar? I want to say everybody have a safe and happy holidays coming up here until the next time we meet in July. We're going to go through a couple of holidays until we meet next.
Yeah. And, thank you so much. I always thank people from coming to and I really thank you for wanting to learn. It's one of the most important things in any profession, but certainly in this one, because it changes all the time. So thanks for being here, and hopefully you will, ask me how to help you in some way or another, and I will be happy to do that.
And anything like if we didn't get to your question, or if you need better clarification, be sure to reach out to Cathy. She's always
Yeah,
good about getting back with you. Getting
right.
back with me anyway. I don't know about no, she'll get back.
No, I'm really good with emails. So yeah, just ask. I'll send
Especially
you
when it concerns money, right, Cathy? Especially when it
No,
concerns class.
no,
I don't know.
I'm a born teacher. I went to Glassboro State Teachers College before I went to Berkeley, and I learned how to teach, and I love teaching, and part of teaching is reaching out and answering questions, and I'll always be there to do it.
Let's see. I'm just looking through. It says, "What is the email or just a contact page on her web page?" That is it, isn't it? It's
Yeah, that email will go through, it says contacts, and it'll go directly to me. I also gave you cressgcm@got.net, and that's my regular email. I have a zillion emails, so I'm not going to give you all the, because I have a lot of Google emails because of all the other stuff I do. So cressgcm.net, or just use the website, which is the contact one, which is cressgcm.
yeah, you're easy to find. All that YouTube stuff. I mean, you can find your number anywhere, your website.
Yeah, and there's a zillion things on on Zoom, on Google about me. So you can find a lot of stuff. And do watch that webinar. I mean, excuse me, the playlist. And really feel free to watch the entire playlist. I really do cover everything. So
Oh, okay. We got a couple more. Sorry. Okay, we got a couple more final thoughts here. Sorry about that. Site for teach customer engagement model. I don't, it's a question. I don't know if they're asking for it or asking about it,
there's a
or
link,
more.
there is a link in the webinar that you're going to get tomorrow that you just
Okay.
get, and it teaches you that. But a customer engagement model is really important because, it's the same thing as facts and benefits. You want to give people benefits you want to respond to their real pain. Pain is really important here to be able to answer that. And you don't want to answer in, just facts, boop, 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 boop. That doesn't reach people's need to reach out to you. What answers their need is you responding to their pain. And that's what it's about. It's not too different than being a nurse or a social worker. And so it teaches you that you already know this in some way. And so it's a great way to, engage your customer.
And, okay, and then there is another question on here. It says, would an average assessment cost about 2,700?
Assessment?
So
Oh,
that's the question, Melissa.
no, if it's
Yes,
geriatric, and a geriatric assessment that is written can cost that much money. If you have a highly dysfunctional family, people that are not talking to each other, you've got to talk to a zillion people to get the truth. If it's complicated medical conditions, you have to go through medical records. That takes a lot of time, and then write it so it can be admitted in court. That's a
yeah,
lot of times. And that's why I say, don't give them a flat fee. You never know.
yeah, I had a case where it was siblings against each other over the mom, and that went to court on and on and on, and that got to be right. And you're doing all this. I did a whole home walkthrough. We had people come in for modifications. I mean, it got really complex.
Yeah,
So
they can.
yeah, it was interesting. Okay, I think that was our last one. Last question, comment. Thank you again, everybody, and be safe and be good.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time. And from both Keith and I, our little team.